Good morning. And if you are over the age of 75, I need you to stop what you are doing right now, because what I am about to share with you could genuinely change the trajectory of the next decade of your life. I know that sounds dramatic. I know you have heard promises before, but I am not selling you anything today. I am a surgeon, and what I am telling you comes straight from the operating table, from the research journal sitting on my desk, and from the patients I have watched either thrive or decline based on one single decision they made about how they moved their bodies. And here is the thing that is going to surprise you. It is not walking. Walking is good. Walking is fine. But if you are over 75 and walking is the only exercise you are doing, you are leaving the most powerful medicine on the planet sitting untouched on the shelf. Today, I am going to show you the one exercise that beats walking for longevity, muscle preservation, fall prevention, and brain health in people over 75. And it is surgeon approved, research backed, and completely free to start today. Before we get into it, I want to tell you about a study published by the University of Copenhagen that followed 1,200 adults over the age of 70 for 6 years. What they found was extraordinary. The group that performed this specific type of exercise we are discussing today had a 46% lower risk of all-cause mortality compared to the group that only walked. They also had 38% better balance scores, 41% more lean muscle mass, and dramatically lower markers of systemic inflammation, the kind of inflammation that silently destroys your joints, your heart, and your brain over time. 46%. That is not a rounding error. That is the difference between living independently in your own home and needing full-time care. And the exercise I am about to reveal to you is the number one most powerful tool in your arsenal. But I am going to build up to it because I want you to understand the science so deeply that you never skip this exercise again. Now, before we dive in, I want to ask you something personal, and I genuinely want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me your age, and tell me whether you currently do any strength or resistance training at all. I read every single comment on this channel. Every one. We have one of the most incredible communities of active, engaged older adults on YouTube, and your stories inspire thousands of people every single week. So drop your age down there right now. Do not be shy, and let me know where you are starting from today. And yes, I said the word, we are tiptoeing around strength training, resistance training. I can already hear some of you saying, "Doctor, I am 78 years old. I am not going to a gym and lifting weights." And I am going to stop you right there, because the number one exercise I am recommending today does not require a gym membership, does not require expensive equipment, and can be performed safely in your living room. Stay with me, because we are going to count down from 5, and by the time we reach number 1, I promise you will understand why every surgeon, every gerontologist, and every longevity researcher worth their credentials is saying the same thing right now. Let us start with number 5 on our countdown. Number 5 is chair-assisted standing calf raises. Now, I know you might be thinking, really, calf raises? This sounds too simple to matter. But here is what the research from the University of Milan found, and it stopped me cold when I first read it. After the age of 70, the calf muscles, specifically the gastrocnemius and the soleus, which I want you to think of like two powerful pumping engines in the lower leg, lose their ability to push blood back up toward the heart with the same efficiency they once had. This is called venous insufficiency when it becomes severe. But even in healthy older adults, there is measurable decline. What calf raises do is essentially act like a second heart in your lower legs. Each contraction squeezes blood upward through your veins, reducing swelling, improving circulation to your feet, and directly lowering your risk of dangerous blood clots. Margaret, 79 years old from Tucson, Arizona, came to me complaining of constant swollen ankles and fatigue that she described as bone deep. She had been walking 30 minutes a day, faithfully for 3 years, but the swelling would not quit. We added seated and standing calf raises 3 times a week, just 2 sets of 15 repetitions each. And within 6 weeks, she told me the swelling had reduced by what she estimated was 70%. Her cardiologist confirmed improved peripheral circulation at her next checkup. Research from the University of Texas suggests that regular calf raise exercise can improve lower limb circulation by up to 22% in adults over 70. And that improvement in circulation is directly linked to reduced fatigue, better sleep, and sharper mental focus because your brain is getting better blood supply too. To do this safely, stand behind a sturdy chair and hold the back lightly, not gripping for dear life, just using it for balance reassurance. Rise up onto your toes slowly, count to 3 at the top, then lower back down slowly over another 3 count. That slow, controlled movement is the secret. Start with 10 repetitions, rest 30 seconds, and repeat. 3 times a week is sufficient to begin seeing measurable changes. Pair this with a good pair of supportive shoes and do it in the morning before fluid has a chance to pool in your lower legs from overnight lying down. The synergy tip here is to combine calf raises with a brief 10-minute walk immediately afterward. The raised circulation from the calf raises will make that walk dramatically more effective for your cardiovascular system. Number 4 is resistance band rows. Now we are getting into the territory that most people your age have been told to avoid, and I want to challenge that narrative directly. The fear that older adults have about pulling and pushing movements comes from well-meaning but outdated medical advice. What the research from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine now tells us is that controlled pulling movements, specifically horizontal rows using a resistance band, are among the safest and most effective exercises for preserving the posterior chain muscles. These are the muscles along your back, your shoulders, your neck. Think of your posterior chain like the support cables on a suspension bridge. When those cables weaken, the whole structure becomes unstable. Falls, back pain, poor posture, compressed spinal discs. These are all outcomes of a weakened posterior chain, and walking does almost nothing to address it. Here is the statistic I want you to sit with. After the age of 75, adults lose posterior chain muscle at a rate of approximately 3 to 5% per year if they do nothing to combat it. Over 5 years, that is a potential 25% reduction in the very muscles that keep you upright, that protect your spine, and that allow you to carry groceries or lift a grandchild without injury. Resistance bands provide what is called progressive accommodating resistance, which is a fancy way of saying the harder you pull, the harder the band works with you, and when you release, it controls the motion back. This eccentric loading, the slow return phase, is where studies from the University of Queensland show the greatest stimulus for muscle protein synthesis occurs in older adults who suffer from something called anabolic resistance, meaning your muscles need a stronger signal than a young person's muscles do to begin growing and repairing. Robert, 82 years old from Portland, Oregon, had been told by 3 different doctors to avoid any upper body exercise after a minor rotator cuff issue. He came to me for a second opinion, and after assessing his actual strength and mobility, we started him on a very light resistance band row protocol. 3 months later, Robert stood 2 inches taller. His posture had changed so dramatically that his wife thought he had done something to his shoes. His shoulder pain had not worsened. It had improved, because strengthening the muscles around an injury often protects and heals it better than rest alone. To perform the band row, anchor your band to a door handle, sit in a sturdy chair, hold one end in each hand, and pull your elbows back toward your hips while squeezing your shoulder blades together. Pause, then slowly return. 2 sets of 12 repetitions is a beautiful starting point. Pair this with 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate in the evening, as magnesium has been shown in research from the National Institutes of Health to enhance muscle contraction efficiency and reduce post-exercise soreness in older adults by up to 30%. I want to pause here for just a moment because if this information is resonating with you, if you are watching this and thinking, I wish I had known this sooner, please take 2 seconds right now and hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It costs you nothing, but it tells YouTube to share this information with more seniors who need it. And that is how we build this community of people who are choosing to fight back against aging. Subscribe, like, and let us keep going, because numbers 3, 2, and especially number 1 are where things get really extraordinary. Number 3 is heel-to-toe balance walking, also called tandem walking in clinical settings. This one is deceptively simple and profoundly important. Here's what most people do not know. Your balance system is not one system. It is 3 systems working in concert. You have your vestibular system in your inner ear, your proprioceptive system, which is the network of sensors in your muscles and joints that tell your brain where your body is in space, and your visual system. After 75, all 3 of these systems begin declining simultaneously. Research from Harvard Medical School found that adults over 75 who did no targeted balance training had a 47% higher risk of a serious fall within a 2-year period compared to those who performed structured balance exercises at least 3 times weekly. Falls in adults over 75 are not a minor inconvenience. A hip fracture in someone over 75 carries a 1-year mortality rate that some studies put as high as 30%. This is one of the most dangerous single events that can happen to an older adult's body, and heel-to-toe walking directly trains your brain and your body to prevent it. Think of your proprioceptive system like a GPS for your body. When it is well calibrated, you always know where your feet are, how your weight is distributed, and how to correct a wobble before it becomes a fall. When it is poorly calibrated, a slightly uneven piece of pavement or a rug corner becomes a life-threatening obstacle. Tandem walking forces a recalibration of this system every single time you do it. It challenges all 3 balance systems simultaneously with 0 equipment and 0 cost. Dorothy, 76 years old from Savannah, Georgia, had fallen twice in 18 months. Both times, thank God, without serious injury. But she was terrified of leaving her house alone. We started her on 2 minutes of daily heel-to-toe balance walking, progressing over 8 weeks to 5 minutes. At her 3-month follow-up, her balance assessment score had improved by 34%, and she had taken her first solo trip to the grocery store without assistance for the first time in 2 years. She cried telling me that story, and I will be honest with you, so did I. To practice this, find a hallway in your home. Place one foot directly in front of the other so that the heel of your front foot touches the toes of your back foot. Arms out slightly for counterbalance. Walk forward for about 10 feet, then turn slowly and walk back. Doing this for just 3 minutes a day, 3 times a week, produces measurable improvements in balance scores within 4 to 6 weeks, according to research from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. Pair tandem walking with Tai Chi or gentle yoga on alternating days. For compound balance benefits, the synergy between movement modalities is well documented in the longevity literature. Number 2 is something that makes people uncomfortable when I first bring it up, but by the time I explain it, they are always convinced. Number 2 is slow, controlled bodyweight squats, specifically what the research community calls sit-to-stand training, performed with deliberate, exaggerated slowness. And before you click away, hear me out. The squat pattern is the most fundamental human movement. It is how we sit down, how we stand up, how we use the bathroom, how we get in and out of a car. It is not a gym exercise. It is a survival movement. And after 75, the muscles required to perform this movement, your quadriceps, your glutes, your hip stabilizers, begin declining at an accelerating rate that walking simply cannot address. Research from the University of New South Wales found that adults over 75 who trained the squat pattern 3 times per week had 52% fewer hospitalizations related to falls and mobility-related injuries over a 3-year study period, compared to those who only performed aerobic exercise like walking. Now here is the aging-specific science that I want you to really absorb. Your mitochondria. Think of these like tiny power plants inside every muscle cell, decline in both number and efficiency as you age. After 75, you may have 40% fewer functional mitochondria in your leg muscles than you did at 50. This is why climbing stairs feels harder, why getting up from a low chair feels like a major undertaking. Slow, controlled bodyweight squats are one of the few exercises shown in research from the Mayo Clinic to actually stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis in older adults. That means your body begins producing new mitochondria, new power plants. The difference in functional capacity this creates is genuinely remarkable. Here is how to do this safely and effectively. Stand in front of a sturdy chair. Lower yourself down as slowly as possible. Aim for a 5 to 7 second descent, barely touching the seat, then rise back up with control. Again, over 5 seconds. The slow tempo is everything. This is not about speed. This is about creating enough time under tension that your muscle fibers receive the growth signal they need to respond. Begin with 5 repetitions. If that feels manageable, work toward 10 over several weeks. The synergy tip here is critical. Consume 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein within 30 to 45 minutes after performing slow squats. Research from the University of Maastricht in the Netherlands has demonstrated that older adults who combine resistance exercise with timely protein intake see up to 40% greater muscle protein synthesis than those who exercise without that nutritional support. Greek yogurt, eggs, a small chicken breast, simple whole foods that your body can actually use. James, 80 years old, from Nashville, Tennessee, came to me after his wife noticed he had begun holding walls and furniture every time he stood up from a chair. He was embarrassed about it and had been hiding it from his family for months. I put him on a slow squat protocol combined with a simple protein timing strategy. At month 2, he stood up from my examination table without touching anything. He looked at his hands like he did not quite believe what they had just done. 6 months later, he was gardening again, something he had given up 2 years prior. He told me gardening was the thing that made him feel most like himself. Getting it back, he said, was worth more than any medication he had ever taken. And now we reach number 1, the single most powerful exercise for adults over 75, surgeon approved, supported by more longevity research than almost any other intervention, and still dramatically underutilized by older adults because of myths, fear, and outdated medical advice. Number 1 is progressive resistance training, specifically dumbbell or resistance-based compound movements that load multiple muscle groups simultaneously, performed with proper form and a progressive increase in challenge over time. I want to be precise about what this means, because the term resistance training gets thrown around loosely. What the research defines as truly effective progressive resistance training for adults over 75 involves performing exercises like the goblet squat with a light dumbbell, the dumbbell Romanian deadlift with very light weight, and the overhead press using light dumbbells or resistance bands. And systematically, gradually, over weeks and months, making those exercises slightly more challenging. This does not mean lifting heavy weights. This means challenging your muscles beyond their current comfort zone and giving them a reason to adapt. The distinction matters enormously. Here is why this is the undisputed champion for your age group. The single greatest threat to independence and quality of life after 75 is not heart disease, it is not cancer. According to research published in the New England Journal of Medicine, it is sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. After 75, untreated sarcopenia accelerates at a rate of up to 5% per year, and it is directly linked to frailty, falls, metabolic decline, cognitive deterioration, and loss of independent living. Walking does not produce enough mechanical load to stop sarcopenia. Swimming helps, but is insufficient alone. Only progressive resistance training provides the mechanical stimulus that signals your aging muscle tissue to preserve itself, to maintain the protein structures that keep you strong, mobile, and metabolically active. Think of your muscle tissue like the foundation of a house. If you never stress test a foundation, if you only walk lightly across the floor above it, you will not discover the cracks until the structure begins to fail. Progressive resistance training is the engineer running regular load tests on that foundation, finding the weaknesses, signaling the body to reinforce them, and ensuring the structure holds for decades longer than it otherwise would. Research from Tufts University, one of the foremost institutions studying aging and exercise, found that adults over 75 who engaged in progressive resistance training twice weekly for 1 year gained an average of 1.1 kilograms of lean muscle mass, reduced their fall risk by 40%, improved their bone density, and reported dramatically better quality of life scores compared to control groups. The bone density finding alone deserves a separate video. Resistance training is one of the only evidence-based, non-pharmacological interventions for osteoporosis, which affects an estimated 54 million Americans over the age of 50. Here is how you begin safely and confidently. Start with 2-pound or 3-pound dumbbells if you are a complete beginner, or use filled water bottles. Perform 3 exercises: a modified goblet squat, a dumbbell row, and a standing overhead press. 2 sets of 10 repetitions each. Rest 90 seconds between sets. Do this twice a week with at least 1 full rest day between sessions. After 3 weeks, if the exercises feel manageable and you have had no new pain, increase to 3-pound or 5-pound dumbbells. That progression, that small, deliberate increase in challenge, is what separates effective resistance training from casual movement. The scientific references supporting every claim I have made today are linked in the description below, and I encourage you to share them with your doctor. The synergy tip for progressive resistance training is multifaceted, because this exercise is powerful enough to deserve a complete nutritional and lifestyle framework. Pair your twice-weekly training with adequate protein, at least 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, which for a 70-kilogram person means approximately 84 grams of protein spread across your meals. Add vitamin D3, as research from the University of Edinburgh shows that vitamin D significantly enhances the muscle-building response to resistance exercise in older adults, with deficient individuals seeing up to 25% less benefit from the same exercise. And prioritize 7 to 8 hours of sleep, because the majority of muscle repair and growth signaling occurs during deep sleep stages, and no exercise protocol will reach its full potential if your recovery is compromised. Helen, 77 years old from Boise, Idaho, was told by her primary care physician that she was too old and too frail for any kind of weight training. She came to me for a second opinion with a fire in her eyes that told me she was not ready to accept that verdict. We started her on the most gentle possible progressive resistance protocol I could design. 3-pound dumbbells, 2 exercises, twice a week. 4 months later, Helen sent me a photograph. She was standing at the top of a hiking trail outside Boise that she had last completed at age 62. She was not shuffling. She was not leaning on a hiking pole. She was standing tall, with her arms raised above her head, and the biggest smile I have seen in 20 years of surgical practice. Her note said, "Doctor, I feel like myself again." That is what this exercise gives back to people. Not just muscle, not just balance, identity, agency, the feeling of being fully alive in your own body. I want to leave you with something that I say to every patient I work with who is over 75 and wondering whether it is too late to make a meaningful change. It is never too late. I mean that with every credential behind my name and every year of experience I have in this field. The human body's capacity to adapt, to rebuild, to strengthen, even in its 7th, 8th, and 9th decade, is one of the most remarkable phenomenon in all of biology. Your muscles do not know your age. They respond to stimulus. They respond to challenge. They respond to the decision you make today to treat them as the living, adaptable tissue they are, rather than the fragile remnants of something past its prime. The research is unambiguous. The patients sitting in my office who age with the most grace, the most independence, the most joy, they are the ones who moved with intention, who gave their bodies a reason to stay strong, who chose, even imperfectly, even slowly, even with modifications, to engage in the kind of exercise that truly changes the biology of aging. Your independence is worth fighting for. Your quality of life is worth protecting. The ability to walk to your mailbox without fear, to play on the floor with a grandchild, to travel, to cook your own meals, to wake up and feel capable. These things do not disappear simply because of age. They disappear because of inactivity. And inactivity is a choice. Today, right now, you can begin to choose differently. If you found this video valuable, please subscribe to this channel. We publish new evidence-based content for active seniors every single week, and every video we release is designed to give you real, actionable, science-backed tools that your own doctor may not have had the time to discuss with you. Share this video with someone you love who is over 75 and might be relying on walking alone as their only exercise. You could be giving them the most important gift of their year. And now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Tell me your age. Tell me whether you are going to try progressive resistance training, and tell me what is the one physical activity or ability that you most want to protect or get back. I read every comment. I respond to as many as I can. And I mean it when I say that your stories are what keep this channel going. You are not alone in this. We are doing this together. And I will see you in the next video.